The Democratic Party should get its best bench out there and start making these arguments really frontally and aggressively about how this agenda is hurting people. When we hear them saying things like presidents come and go, things that minimize the radical rupture that we have here, and we have an absolutely authoritarian candidate, and we have that conciliatory talk, that doesn't help us. All the people I know are so frustrated with wanting to see leadership from the Democratic Party tops that we're not getting. If we don't act, it will be awful. It will be awful. If we do act and we act smart and strategically and we work with people that may not be people we would usually work with, but we work together, then I believe that we can at least get a breather possibly in 2026. But I don't know.
So there's a lot of sense among Democrats that this is only about hand-wringing, that it's not really stiffening their own spines to stand up for what's coming in this wind, and expecting voters to do the work of what parties and the party and party leaders ought to be doing.
I'm very frustrated with the Democratic Party right now, and I worked so hard, as many of the people I'm sure on this Zoom did. But when I see Hakeem Jeffries, whom I respect, talking about getting along, how we have to find ways to get along with them after they told us these people are destroying democracy, or when we hear them saying things like presidents come and go, things that minimize the radical rupture that we have here, and we have an absolutely authoritarian candidate and party, and Trump is behaving like a fascist, and we have that conciliatory talk, that doesn't help us. All the people I know are so frustrated with wanting to see leadership from the Democratic Party tops that we're not getting, and clear language about what this is doing to people. And it almost gives you whiplash, because that was such an argument on the stump that, this is about the future of democracy, and then not making that argument, when he gets in, that's a problem. The Democratic Party should get its best bench out there and start making these arguments really frontally and aggressively about how this agenda is hurting people. But I will say, fortunately, others were not, we're doing work. So when we were all talking about Project 2025 and how awful it was, and people agreed that it was awful, but they didn't believe Trump would actually get away with it. Well, now he's doing it. Fortunately, there was a wonderful group of really talented group of people who set up something called Democracy 2025. They have over 300 groups. I'm not sure how involved they all are, but over 1,000 cooperating attorneys. And they went all the way through Project 2025, made a threat matrix, figured out what the issues are. They're already doing the litigation. Like, you see all these court cases coming up, they've been key in that. So everybody on this call, I urge you to sign up tonight or tomorrow. They have an all hands on deck meeting tomorrow, 12 to 1 my time. Democracy 2025. You can just sign up, but they have working groups on all these different issues. If there are attorneys on this call, they can get involved. There's so much that can be done.
So will that lead people according to their interests to say, I'm interested in healthcare, I'm interested in childcare, I'm interested in climate change? Will that be a clearinghouse for people, just ordinary voters, to say, here's what I can do?
Well, I think their focus is more on litigation, but what they've done is bring together working groups in these different areas that are made up of the organizations that are on the ground doing these things. And I think that they're going to be, I'm an outsider. It's not like I'm inside. I don't know exactly, I just pay attention to them because I think they're good. But they're going to be doing communication strategies and working with groups, to mobilize. But I think that each one of us, again, it was wonderful to see how many different parts of the country and the world are represented on this call. But so I think people in their own communities need to figure out, where could they be helping? Where do they need to make sure people are getting the information they need? If there's going to be some kind of a mobilization, how to do that, and that work is really, really important. And I also want to say, because we have a lot of you wonderful people from the free world, the blue states on this call, and then there are those of us from the red states and the purple states. One of the things that Democracy 2025 is doing that I think is very important is leveraging the power of blue states to help those in other states. So if you'll see, like, there were the litigation against the OMB thing was on behalf of, I believe it was 20 states, on behalf of their citizens who would be affected. So, we need to think of that too, right? It's kind of, again, back to like the 1850s. What can the free states do to the, to help people in the slave states?
Let's get some shorter answers so we can get some more questions.
Sorry.
If that's all right. No, if it's all right with you. One of our stalwarts, Zev Yaroslavsky, referred to Timothy Ryback's piece in The Atlantic, How Hitler Dismantled a Democracy in 53 Days. Felt like a warning. How close are we? Even with the missteps of, oh, we didn't mean to cut Meals on Wheels. Oh, we didn't mean to cut Head Start with this broad executive order. But Zev's question is well timed. 53 days. What is our clock with the Trump administration?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't say that. One thing I can say is we're not
Not
like
on your shelf behind you there. I was looking for one. No.
we're not in a situation like that of interwar Europe, with a profound depression, with, the Bolshevik Revolution and all this other stuff. So, we can kind of yoga breathe a little bit, but I said, it's not dark yet, but it's getting there. We have to be really, really alert, and it will be the efforts of people like the good people on this call that will help answer that question. If we don't act, it will be awful. It will be awful. We will see, I believe we will see the end of democracy in America. If we do act and we act smart and strategically and we work with people that may not be people we would usually work with, but we work together, then I believe that we can at least get a breather possibly in 2026. But I don't know. I
Okay.
mean, look at, they put, okay, I'll just say Pete
No,
Hegseth at top of the military, scary stuff.
we try to end on a bit of a positive note. So maybe I should ask where you think the best, most effective opposition is going to come from. Is it going to come from the courts? The federal courts will say, hey, we have lifetime appointments, so we have a legacy to think about. We don't need to put up with this. Are there going to be elements in Congress that aren't acting necessarily because they disagree on policy, but because they're defending the fact that this is an independent branch of government that has its own rights and its own responsibilities to push back?
Well, I would say I do see some signs of hope. I mean, the velocity of this machine has been gummed up. The birthright citizenship, effort has been, put on hold by a judge. The anti-DEI, also. So the courts have been doing some useful things, but I think it would be a mistake for us to just look to some other entity over the, whether it's judges or Congress or whatever. The core message I'd like people to take is we must all embrace the fact that we live in a democracy and its future depends on us, right? We must become active citizens. We must be vocal. We must talk to our neighbors. We must protect our neighbors. We must do what we need to do. And to me, I also teach the history of social movements. No social movement ever achieves something significant with just one brain, just grassroots or just, Congress or whatever. No, it's a multiplicity of things, and each one, further energizes the other, and then you get that kind of, healthy combustion going. So we need to see each of ourselves as part of that overall project. I think of it as like a cosmic division of labor. We all have something to do.